Thank you for the kind presentation. Good afternoon. I would like to start by thanking the organizing committee of the IWCS for inviting me, and also to thank the Indian Organization Committee. And now for my presentation, basically what I did here is a case study on trying to understand if we can use wood as a strategy, or if wood can play a role in the sustainable development of some African countries. Yeah, did this already. Now, this is a map of made by the FAO that is still on the FAO's website to show you the different, how in Africa, the green it's for the forest in Africa. And also the next slide is something curious. I was playing the other day with my student, and they told me, since I was from Africa, they told me that in Africa, you can place China, US, Eastern Europe, France, a lot of countries. Yet on this map, right, Africa is very small. Give us the wrong idea, even to make policy. When you know, if you know that Africa is so big, so maybe you will reverse some of the policy, like population. Now, this is my case study was based on Cameroon. This is Cameroon here. Cameroon is a tiny country, and then you look at here, you will see that the forest area covered in Cameroon is more than 60% of the surface of Cameroon is covered by forests. And then Cameroon is about 20 million population, about 475,000 kilometers square, almost the size of California. And yet the life expectancy is like 50 years. So somebody like me, I'm on bonus because I'm more than 50 years, right? And for women, it's about 52 years. And the official language in Cameroon, it's French and English. And in Cameroon, we have about 21 million, or 45% of land area that's supposed to be forest. You see here already contradiction between what I just said from the FAO and what the Cameroonian government thinks, that it's only 46%, but FAO says that more than 60%. And from the forest, it's about, the forest is about 17 million exploitable, because some are on a high hill, high steep hill, which is very difficult to exploit. And the forest there is very rich and diverse. And sometimes diversity for development is not always a good thing. Because I discussed with some industrial, with some artisans, they told me that on 1 square kilometer, you have about 300 species. So make it very difficult to harvest. The harvesting, I mean, the philosophy, if you study harvesting in Finland and then go to Cameroon to try to apply your harvesting model, it won't work. Or if you study harvesting in Oregon, go to Cameroon, try to apply that, it will be very difficult. So harvesting, even in a tropical forest, is very, very different from a temperate monospecies forest. And in Cameroon, they report that they have harvest about 12 million cubic meter of timber. And this is some example. And also we have a different type of forest in Cameroon. We have some rainforest, evergreen, and some mountain forest on the mountain, very difficult, and also some grassland close to the desert, some semi-arid region. Make it a little bit also difficult to come up with a uniform plan for forest management. So those are some examples of type of tree that you find in a tropical forest, and also some very beautiful tree with the flowers. That's a very good ecosystem for birds, insects, and different animals. So we have to think about that in our strategy. And also forest is also a nice ecosystem, see, for the termites, because termites is also a good source of protein for some population. Those are the issues that we have to think about in our forest management policy. Now, another statistic, you will see that the #1 export product in Cameroon is a crude oil, and #2 is timber. #2 is timber, so it's very important. #2 is timber. And then to joke, also, you have also soccer players that are very important in Cameroon. See, it's also some export, and also brain exports, also very important. Like Manu Dibango, all those musics, also very good so export product for Cameroonian government. And also the GNP for Cameroon is about $1,150. Now, for the forest sector, I divide that into 3 different categories. The first is the silviculture, and the second is the primary sector, and the third is the secondary sector. It's important to understand, because to create jobs, to help people in Cameroon, to fight against poverty, those are the different sectors that we can help people creating jobs. For instance, nursery for forest plantation, like eucalyptus. A lot of people now start planting eucalyptus for utility poles, right? For constructions. A lot of people also, government have a lot of rubber wood plantation. They're not clear, they don't know exactly strategy, how to use, for instance, the wood at the end of the life cycle of extracting latex, although they're getting some help from Malaysian government. And also the teak, they start some teak plantation in Cameroon. Maybe it was a mistake because teak doesn't grow that tall, that big in Cameroon. All those are issues. Also, they have some kayak. Kayak is for mahoganies, like sapele, all those stuff. They also have starting some terminalia, I-use plantation in Cameroon. All those, we can help the people in the villages, in the rural area, how to maintain, create some nursery for those different species by providing them with some good seeds, using genetics and all those physiology characteristics. And then in the primary sector also, my primary sector is all the logging, all the sawmilling. And in Cameroon, it's a very, 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 I would say, not even ancient, it's also at the prehistoric area. Yet you have a lot of firms from China, from France, from Europe, working in this field. So they need help on this. Because basically the main objective of the primary sector in Cameroon is very low value commodity product, 2x4, if it's not logs. And then in the secondary sector, it's almost absent, because usually people in Cameroon, the education is not there to know how to finish the wood product. So those are those 3 fields, right? Where you can also, in secondary sector, we can create a lot of high value product, like Dr. Martin just said here. We can create, if we train people, we can create a lot of high value items. Now, in terms of wood industry, what are the different problems that they have? For instance, in Cameroon, I'm not going to go through the slide word by word. In Cameroon, for instance, they will tell you that there's a lot of illegal logging. When I went there, I said, how do you define illegal logging? Why do we have illegal logging? They say because the government came up with some laws, people doesn't respect that. And I'm going to go through this again with you. And illegal logging in Cameroon, those are some people without any training, without any permission, without any licensing from the government. They just go in the forest with a chainsaw and cut trees and then use the chainsaw to process. And based on what I found, the yield from a tree to lumber with the illegal logging is about 20%, 25%. That's not acceptable today. Yet the government just go after them to put them in jail and all that. But it's a very difficult, because sometimes that's the only income. I'm not saying we should promote illegal logging, but we should at least understand why there's illegal logging in different countries. Making the law is not enough. Maybe we should have a communication, some dialogue with those people. Why do we do this? I did a very short survey. I discussed with them. They say, hey, we don't have enough wood, even though we have forests. All the concessions are managed by foreign countries, foreign national, and they bring all the wood. They harvest the timber, they put that in the boat. We don't have anything to build houses here. Myself, to test this hypothesis, I started a small carpentry shop in Cameroon. Yes, it's very difficult. You will not believe me, to have a clean wood in Cameroon, because almost everything is harvested for international market trade. There's nothing local. So the only thing you have to do, you have to rely on those lumber. So this is something that maybe we as an international wood culture society, we will maybe be able to help the government and help the community resolve this issue by saying, hey, look, how can we help you? Like, for instance, to show them how to use like technology that's available, like a mobile sawmill, Mobark, Lucas Mill, Peterson, that is available in New Zealand, in US, even some technology that we have here in India, because they only use chainsaw for that, for illegal logging. And then also, yeah, and those illegal logging, those artisans, they don't care about environment. If they have to cut one tree of paddock, which is maybe 200 years, and maybe kill all the terminalia or anything that's around, they don't really care about. They just want to get that 200 years or 100 years paddock that will be sold at very high price on international on the market. So those are some issues that maybe we'll be able to help people. And this is some model. I use those data to build some model to see how we can really help people. For instance, if you look at the artisan informal, when I call informal here is the illegal logging, right? They will harvest about 1 million cubic meter of logs, right? From the 1 million cubic meter, they will produce only 300,000 cubic meter in 1 year, right? And and because the yield is 30%, and they will use about 3,000 employees to do that, right? And you have about 13,000 illegal logging people in Cameroon, right? And then if you look at the artisan, about 4 months, that means they have a license by the government. They start using like a Lucas Mill, Peterson. They will harvest about 700,000 cubic meter of log. Out of that, it's about 60%. See, they go already from 30 to 60%. They will produce 420,000. But I was not able to get the number of employees and the companies there. But if you look at the fixed sawmill, that means what I will call industrial, semi-industrial sawmill. Their yield is it's close to what we have here. And then they produce about 1.6 million cubic meter of timber. And they employ about 20,000. So if we just go here and then try to work on this section, the illegal, the informal artisan, to help them improve their yield here, yeah, we can reduce a lot of poverty right there, just to help those people, rather than just say that it's illegal, we're not going to do anything with them. So this is some of the strategies that we can use. And also in Cameroon, yeah, they produce about 2.3 million cubic meter of lumber, of timber every year. So what are all the opportunities where we can work to improve, reduce the poverty in Cameroon or different country? Maybe drying is a problem. You have only the legal sawmilling that have about a very small percentage of lumber dry for export, right? So we end up with a lot of quality issues. Therefore, people will prefer to export logs, even though they will tell you that they process the timber in Cameroon. A lot of people will export log because there's a law in Cameroon saying that if you come up with a new species in the forest, I don't know what they call new species, maybe they want to say non-commercial species, you can export logs. So therefore, you see there's a lot of abuse, right? Even the people with the fixed sawmill, they will harvest log and then export that by changing the name and calling different species. So those are the issue. And another issue where we can help them is, how to recycle, how to recover all the waste generated. Remember, we have about 70% waste generated by the small sawmill, that the illegal informal, and about 40% by the fixed sawmill and the artisan with the formal license. That's a lot of waste, because the charcoal industry is non-existent in Cameroon, and there's no particle board or no fiber board industry that we can recycle those. So those are the fields that maybe we can help them by, developing, show them how to use this recycle, even the wood chips, the sawdust, to make some charcoal locally. And also the branches, we can also show them how to use the branches. And I started a program with some artists in Cameroon, and it was very successful because I organized a contest, and you have to bring only branches from tree in the forest. It was very successful, very successful. So train them how to use not only the stem, but the branches, the limbs that you have from the hardwood that they have in Cameroon. And also small diameter logs in Cameroon, they don't use it for anything. That means when you if you find in the forest, you have to create road, right? So you have to clear a lot of small diameter logs. Nothing they do with it. So those are lot of opportunities that we can use to develop the forestry, and then the problem that we have in Cameroon with the poverty. Yeah, those are again some statistics. For instance, you will see that they have about 294 secondary processing units and 132 for export. And then I will tell you that basically one export structure about 10 times the local structure that's for processing, for secondary processing. So, and other issue is that in Cameroon they have about 80 species that are marketable, that they can sell on the market. Yet, about only 2 species account for 55% of the total production, Ayus and Sapele, because that's what international market call for. Again, there is no strategy to satisfy the local demand, but the main strategy in Cameroon is to satisfy the international market. It goes with the price of the log, price of the timber. And what the international market call for, it's Ayus and Sapele. Maybe it's time to come up with a strategy to try to satisfy the local demand for construction, for furniture, right? And also other species that sometimes maybe the international market we look for, we have a Frake, Iroko, and Tali. This is mainly for European market. So those are some examples of logging in Cameroon. And you will see that even the road, there is no structure. I mean, the road structure is very, very bad. Very often, for about 3 months during the rainy season, it's almost impossible to go from A to B with the logs. So therefore, they use a lot of chemicals to spray on the logs to stop the sap stain, the insect, the decay process. So that's a lot of issue that they have to overcome to improve the development of the forest product industry. And those are some examples of illegal logging. For instance, this guy have his truck, in blue, full of teak. He declared that that was firewood. And then they found out after that was illegal log for international export. He will cut it in very short pieces and put in the trucks because the duty for short log is different from long logs in Cameroon. So there's a lot of problem to be resolved here. But again, when you see this, and the guy is telling you that his family member is sick, he doesn't have money to buy for medication, what do you do as a human being? So those are some questions that we need to answer. It's true that it's illegal, but what do you do? So those are the some species and also some picture that you have in the Cameroon forest, but some are considered valuable and some are still non-marketable. And yeah, this is some statistic. For instance, in Cameroon now, to 2008, the income, the revenue for timber is about $1 billion a year, right? And that creates about 20,000 direct jobs. So if we just focus on improving the yield, maybe from 60 to 70%, we can improve this by 10%. We can go from 1 billion to 1.1 billion, and that's a lot, just by working on the sawmill technology. And also, if we can even improve by showing people how to dry wood, because basically what they're doing from A to B, they're carrying wood with almost 60% water. So they're carrying water. If we reduce the amount of water that they have in wood, we can again increase the income here. So my guess is that within 5 years, we can help them with the technology. They may be able to go from 20,000 to 170,000 people, right? Direct and indirect job. Yeah. And also with the issue of the carbon market, it's still a little bit fuzzy in Cameroon, but the government is considering the carbon market, how to, set aside some forests to to get some income revenue for the carbon market. Yet you still have the problem of illegal logging. How are you going to protect that? So those are some statistics. You will see that basically the illegal logging, it's about the artisanal, informal. I didn't want to put illegal, I just say informal. It's about 30% of the business in Cameroon, for the forest product business in Cameroon. And for the fixed sawmill, that means people, basically fixed sawmills, those is foreign investment. It's about 35%, and the other 30% is the local, but formal artisanal industry. Now, for the market, for the forest product for the market in Cameroon, they used to have a very vibrant veneer industry, but today with the international crisis, it's kind of down. And also, so that what is more privileged now is logs and lumber. And also, the furniture industry in Cameroon, they use a lot of mahogany teak to make tables, case good cabinets. Construction also, they use a lot of wood, but again, they don't have enough. Even though they have a lot of logs, they have a lot of forests, because again, 35% of the production is for international trade. The market, usually they will export the wood in France, Italy, Netherlands, in Western Europe, and also Asia. China becoming a very good player in this industry, and also in America, in USA, and Canada. And also Cameroon is one of the big exporter of wood in the Maghreb, Morocco, Libya, Egypt, and Algeria. Yeah, so the issues, really, it's the technology again. We can improve, if we can improve the yield, the main issue is the technology, because the yield is between 20 and 40%. How can we improve the technology? By just help them to apply engineering principles. It's very simple, but they don't have the technology. And also wood quality, in terms of drying, you know, they don't, I would say 50% of the wood in Cameroon is not dry. They think that by storing the wood outside for 6 months, 9 months, it will dry. And also they need some marketing strategy, because right now it's just the production of rough lumber and for international market. And there is no clear strategy to improve the local consumption. And also something important is the fiscal and social responsibility of the government, because sometimes to import some tools and equipment, sometimes the duty is so high that people there, local people, it's very difficult for them to import those tools. And also the education. There's a gap between the industry and the academics in the wood science field. They don't work together, so that it's very difficult for, I would say, a company in Cameroon to hire somebody who graduated from university, because the education is not appropriate. And also conflict of interest. There's a lot of conflict of interest. So those are some examples of lumber not dried being exported for the international market. So, like I say, the issue is education and training, and the public perception for somebody graduating in wood science in Cameroon, it's looked at as inferior to somebody graduated from law school. I don't know how to solve that. Even in the US, sometimes I face that. People from wood science degree, you know, I don't know how to qualify to do that. And also the image of wood technologists, of wood scientists, image of we got to work on that, come up with some marketing campaign to improve that. And the issue of environment and sustainability. All those are the issues: illegal logging, social justice. So to answer my question, can wood play a role in the sustainable development of Africa? I would say yes. But we need a lot of education, collaboration, trainings, and also we need to work with the lawmaker and the fiscality and the bank for the loan to help people start entrepreneurship, to boost the entrepreneurship in Africa in this field, because it looks like it's only the foreign investment that taking over. So entrepreneurship is very important. So how to? I think that the IWCS can play a good leadership role in this by maybe getting together in the wood culture tour or the wood day and try to understand and identify the issue, the weakness, the strength, right, of the philosophy of wood is good. How can we do to improve the wood is good in Africa? How? Maybe by just going, it's important to go there and talk to people, have a direct communication between IWCS and the stakeholder, like industry, the communities, the public, and the government. Sit down together and see how we can help. By maybe through wood science, economy, train people in economy, sociology, education, make sure that we understand the sociology, the culture of the country, not only to the goods. And for that, I will say thank you, and If any questions, or maybe the question is afterwards.